Did you know you can make free bonus cash while gaming? Almost all social casinos have daily bonus dollars. That's free money, y'all. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Hour number 3 is now live on the early line. Sirius XM channel 159 right here on the Sports Grid Network. It's Joe Ranieri. It's Donnie Wright said here. A lot to get to. Had some fun with Joe Lisi covering a lot of topics here. But as you know, we sort of like reset, recharge, 1 hour to go. And I love Friday shows because the expectation tonight is fantastic for the Sweet 16, which lead into Elite 8 on Saturday and then Elite 8 action on Sunday. We also have a full Major League Baseball card today. As chock full as we had yesterday on opening day? No, because teams take off in anticipation that there might be some bad weather on opening day, so they can push their opening day back one day. But still a decent card nonetheless, and a lot of action to go over. So, Joe, the vibes, they're high. It's Friday. It's supposed to be payday in the streets for the people, and we need to provide that information in hour number 3 to get them home to cash in some tickets.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, who's not excited? We get to see the Colorado Rockies play for the first time today. Does it get any better than that as they take on the Tampa Rays at Yankee Stadium Light in Tampa there? So, yes, it really does kick off well, and I believe that's 4 o'clock, Donnie. We're kicking off the MLB schedule today.
Fantastic. You know what? I'd like to kick off at 4 o'clock today. Give me some college basketball so we don't. Come on now. It's Friday night. We should all be able to stay up and have some fun. You know, I won't be able to because I never have some fun late at night. But that's just the me issue right here. Trying to fight for the people, being a man of the people. Now, talking about the people here, Joe Ranieri, now's the time we like to reach out to the people and see what their thoughts would be on a Fade the Public poll. So simply, you go to SportsGrid, at SportsGrid on X, you hit the follow button, and every morning we give you opportunities to chime in here. Today's question on SportsGrid, which of tonight's underdogs is the best bet to win outright today? We gave you 4 options on the card. Kentucky, plus 155 is the dog. Michigan at a 3-to-1 price is a dog. Ole Miss at plus 140, and Purdue at plus 285. The poll results here for us. The favorite lead? Simple. The lowest favorite here, meaning the best underdog, is it Ole Miss at a plus 140 price. The public said yes at 34%. Coming in close, plus 155. Kentucky at 32%. Michigan at 27%. And pulling up the rear here is the Purdue Boilermakers at only 6%. Me, I went Ole Miss as well. Went quote-unquote the lowest chalk, if you can have chalk, for a dog. I did that. Where did you vote in this one, Joe? Where'd you go?
This is tough here because I do think it's going to be a very chalky evening here tonight. But if I'm going to be looking for a dog, I'm going to take, the lowest total and the most points. And that's Purdue taking on Houston, right? The total's down to what, about 130 now, 131, somewhere in there. And you want to give me, and I bet you that number gets to 9, Donnie, before tip-off here. Because that's the late game. And, depending on how the public does in the early games, there's going to be an awful lot of Houston money, I think, come rolling in. So I think I would hold off betting Purdue for now because I think you can get a better number. But low total, ton of points with a elite offensive team, I'll go with Purdue in this one.
I can't wait to watch it play out. I mean, and I love it. And as we said before, like part of the charm of the tournament over the past 20, 30, 40 years is sometimes Cinderellas make it into the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. And as I always say, there's so much fun to watch them pull off the upset until you realize what that upset damaged and what the next game could have actually been. We don't have that anymore. It's all Power 5 conferences, and we should get great games all the way out. Now, granted, a game is only as good as the eye of the beholder, probably which side you bet and which side you won and or lost at that point. So I'm excited to see it play out. Also, time to re-rack where we sit here in the rankings here at the FanDuel Sportsbook for the odds market to cut down the nets. You take a look at Duke. They're a plus 180 price right now. Ooh, that's a lot lower. Florida, 3-1. Ooh, that's a lot lower. Just use simple math in your head. Those two teams won and advanced last night, and other teams have to play to advance to the same stage in the Elite 8, which means Houston back down to a price of 6-1. Auburn at 6-1. Alabama 11-1 with their impressive victory, but we know they have to take on Duke. Looking at these numbers on the board that we have with this graphic, any buy-in points here, any surprises a little bit, or just status quo for you so far, Joe?
Well, the problem is I'm holding a 14-1 Florida ticket here, so certainly not buying into them at 3-1. The only question I have is, do I begin to start hedging, beginning with the Texas Tech game, if I'm looking at it? Houston, I'm also holding a Houston ticket here at 8-1. I'm kind of shocked they're still only 6-1 at this point. I think they've been a little bit less, but it's because Duke is such an overwhelming favorite here that there is some value down the board if you're not holding a ticket on anybody. I mean, Tennessee 19-1, Texas Tech, who we just watched, Michigan State at 27-1. I mean, these are all great pedigree teams with more than enough talent to be able to run the table here. So the value is there strictly because Duke is such an overwhelming favorite here.
They are such an overwhelming favorite. And look, plus 180, I know how good Duke is. I picked them in my bracket to win it all. I think they're the best team in the country. But also, Joe, we're talking about like price points, right? Like not every team there is listed at plus 100. It's like, oh, just pick the best team, and that's what it is. Like still the path for Duke to win a championship, just get to the Final Four, then win in the Final Four, then win the final against a team. I'm sorry. I do think they're the best team. He said, well, then if they're the best, you should just bet them. Plus 180. To win that Elite 8 game, the Final Four game, and the final game against the Titans of the Titans in college basketball, I can't take it that low, even if I think they're the best team, Joe.
Well, and the other problem, Donnie, is that they're never going to be a dog in any game.
Correct.
So you're not going to be able to get plus money on them on any sort of money line situation from here on out. But hypothetically, play it out. Duke has got to go with who I think the team that is actually built to beat them in that bracket is Alabama. And then if it's not Alabama, then it's going to be, let's just go, Houston. Who else are they going to have to beat in order to be able to get to the national championship game? Their toughest games are still to come here for Duke.
Yeah. Now, if we look at that odds market here, right? Let's just say you go Duke, Florida, Houston, Auburn, and Alabama, and we remove the top 5 teams and list the bottom 5 teams here, which would be Tennessee 19-1, Texas Tech at 20-1, Michigan State at 27-1, Kentucky at 85-1, and Ole Miss at 95-1. Of those bottom 5 teams, and even with the price points put in, which ticket would you take on those dog prices? Say, you know what, Donnie, I'll take a flyer because even if they don't win it, I think you might be winning a game or two, and I can cash in that ticket for plus money.
Well, you have to, at this point, you have to take into consideration, okay, you got to get to the game, right? You got to get to the national championship game. So if you're not looking at Florida then how are you not looking at Texas Tech then at 20-1? Because if Texas Tech beats Florida here, you got to love their chances of at least getting to that game there. So I think there's plenty of value on Texas Tech. Let's face it. I don't think even if Alabama beats Duke, I still don't think Alabama is going to get to the national championship game. So I do think that Texas Tech is going to provide the biggest pushback there for Florida, the favorite on that side of the bracket.
Yeah, again, just the excitement here. We look at those teams where every single one of those is viable. Like, look at the bottom of the board. It's Ole Miss. You know, a really good team out of the best conference in college basketball, and you're almost getting 100-1 when they're already in the Sweet 16. It's pretty crazy how it stacks up, but lets you know how dominant those top 4 seeds are. And not only do you have to pull off like, hey, let me just get one upset, multiple upsets against really good basketball teams before you even find yourself in the game, the final game, I should say, on that Monday night against a really good basketball team. As it appears right now, if you're just line picking, Duke, Florida, plus 180, 3-1 price here. Opposite sides of the bracket. They should meet in the national championship game. They both won their games going away there in the round of Sweet 16 into the 32. But we are going to have a preview of all of these games coming up tonight. But more importantly, let's take a look at where the odds opened and where we expect them to close for tonight's game and have some fun handicapping all the way through. What a Friday it is here on the SportsGrid Network. Make sure you keep the dial right here, Sirius XM channel 159.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's light up the odds board for tonight, because yesterday we did see a lot of offense. 4 more games on tap tonight, Sweet 16 style. And as Joe Ramirez pointed out multiple times on the show, we do have an intriguing environment where we're used to playing in NCAA/NBA arenas. We will have 2 of those games tonight. We also have 2 games tonight that are going to be played in a football stadium in Indianapolis, the home of the Colts, Lucas Oil Stadium. Before we get to the individual breakdowns of the games, we always like to analyze where the lines currently sit and where they opened and see if the feel and the vibe of those is right. Game number 1, 6:35, 6:36 on the rotation, a 7:09 start. It's Mississippi versus Michigan State. This game's going to take place in Atlanta tonight in a basketball arena. This line opened up at minus 2.5 points. It currently sits at the FanDuel Sportsbook at 3.5. The total, Joe, hasn't moved at all. 143.5, and now currently sitting at 143.5. Does that number feel light to you with Michigan State? Is it about right? And also a quick look at the total.
Yeah, it feels right. Although I can tell you this, Donnie, having betting against the SEC hasn't exactly been great. If you've gone that route, they have done a pretty good job. In fact, now 61-33 against the number this season when they play non-conference opponents. So teams out of the conference playing the SEC. The SEC is dominated. It's the best conference in all of college basketball, bar none. So I get Michigan State being the favorite right now, but the SEC is also 10-6 against the number in this tournament when playing, when playing these non-conference teams. Michigan State should be the favorite. I don't see the number moving a whole lot more one way or the other. To me, this is about regression. We talked about regression to the mean with Alabama and what we got last night from Sears and company, because they weren't able to hit anything in the first couple of games that they played in this tournament. And then look at what we had last night. Ole Miss has not missed, it feels like, a shot the entire tournament. Their path to the Sweet 16 has happened because they have absolutely hit everything that they have thrown up at the bucket. Michigan State's, again, the depth for Michigan State, unbelievable. I don't know that the total is going to go up and over. I kind of like the under in this one. I feel like the number is right where it should be, and which is why we're not getting a whole lot of movement. But this, to me, is priced exactly where it should be, Donnie, and I don't see it moving very much more here before tip-off.
7:39 tonight, 6:39, 6:40 on the rotation. That's Kentucky and that's Tennessee. And that is going to be played at Lucas Oil Field, which, again, that stadium is an NFL stadium here. Sometimes I like when the odds makers put out a line and it doesn't move, because it feels to me like you don't get that push and pull. It's like, ooh, that feels about right. The reason I bring that up is Kentucky and Tennessee opened up at 145.5. Now, at the FanDuel Sportsbook, we did lose a point on that at 144.5. But the side itself, Joe, minus 4.5 at the opening number, still sits today at minus 4.5 at the opening number. So again, we'll handicap these games in just a bit. Kentucky and Tennessee, give me your vantage point, and if anything changes, because we are playing in a football stadium.
Yeah, we're playing in a football stadium. And again, this is elite defense versus offense again, right? Kentucky is not going to play any defense. They're not even remotely close on the same page as what Tennessee is going to bring to the table. And don't forget, this is a Kentucky team now, and Mark Pope has done a heck of a job. But these are all transfers. When he took this job at Kentucky, none of these guys played together. He got them all. He brought them all in. There was nobody left on the team. So they have overperformed expectations to this point. And I think this is a big Joes versus pros here, because the pros obviously like Tennessee, which is why this number is where it's at here. The public can't understand it since Kentucky has already beaten them twice this year. Well, why in the world are they getting 4.5 points? Well, the problem is, yes, the public is betting Kentucky, but this line isn't moving because the pros like Tennessee, and they like them because Kentucky in those two games went 24 of 48, 50% from three in those two wins, while Tennessee went 14 of 63, 22%. Are we really thinking Kentucky is going to hit another 50% of their threes in a football stadium against a team that knows them better than anybody? So I understand why Tennessee is the favorite here. I also think the total has moved more. I mean, this was 146.5, 147. Now we're down to 144, 144.5. And I agree with that, because if I like Tennessee, I like the under here, Donnie. Do I not? I think this is going to be a rock fight, and Tennessee is going to make it that way.
6:33, 6:34. That's a 9:39 tip tonight. Michigan and Auburn once again back down in Atlanta tonight. 7.5 is the opening number at the FanDuel Sportsbook, increasing now to 8.5 points as a favorite for the Auburn Tigers. The line also on the move for the total, 151.5 up to 153.5. What do you think about the public buying into Auburn and also the total between Michigan and Auburn?
Listen, Auburn just beat a good Creighton team, and Creighton made 45% of their three-point shots in that game. Auburn has been number one in the country for most of the year, and I think this number is right. How many more Michigan games can we actually see them win by 2 or 3 points here, Donnie, or one possession? I like the total moving up. It makes total sense, but I can tell you now, hurry up and bet the over if that's the direction you're going, Donnie, because I don't think this is going to stop. I think this is going to close 155.5 before tip-off.
Final game tonight, 6:37, 6:38 on the rotation. Purdue and Houston, 10:09 is a tip time, 7.5 at the opening number, now up to 8.5. But how about the total? 131.5 at the opening number, 131.5 as it sits now. Aircraft carrier game. Once again, Purdue-Houston quickly here.
I'll just tell you right now, teams playing in their home state in the tournament, 143, 103-2 against the number since 1991. They didn't do Houston any favors by putting this game in Indy and Purdue facing them here. However, it's very hard to go against an elite defensive team like the Cougars. I agree with the total going down, and I think it will continue to go down.
Two of the best defensive teams in the country playing in a football stadium. Does it help? We got all 4 games. We're going to handicap each one individually coming up next. Stick with us right here on the early line.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's get into it. Let's have some fun. There's 4 games tonight. Marquee cards, 7:09, 7:39, 9:39, and 10:09 tonight as we start with the earliest game, 6:35, 6:36 on the rotation, Mississippi, Michigan State, from live in Atlanta tonight. We already went over the numbers here. 3.5 is the current favorite at the FanDuel Sportsbook for Michigan State. 143.5 as the total. Lining this game up, Joe and I talking here over the break. The one thing we know about Michigan State is it's not a pretty basketball team. It's not littered with first-team All-Americans and number one overall draft picks. They just get the job done with a great coach and a great defensive footprint. We like Mississippi's offense. It's top 25 in the country when you take a look at the efficiency. But Michigan State's defense, unbelievably rebounding team on defense, which means you don't get second points here. Fourth overall in efficiency. The best team in the country at defending the three-point line. Now, the interesting part, Joe, is they'll let you shoot the three, but they're going to put a hand in your face, and that will affect you. Again, 360-plus teams in the country, nobody defends the three-point line better than Michigan State. How does that affect the game tonight with Mississippi trying to steal some of those points from the three-point line?
Well, I think it lends itself to certainly an under in this spot here because Michigan State, number one in defending the three-point percentage shot, right, all year long. They're not a great three-point shooting team. Their idea of being able to beat you is wearing you down. And why can they wear you down? Because they can go 10 deep. We mentioned it last hour, how Florida and the depth that they have and what they just basically wore down Maryland last night. Well, that's kind of exactly what Michigan State's game plan is. When they can throw 10 guys and fresh legs the entire time and every one of them is built to defend, it makes it very, very difficult. I love Chris Beard. I think this is the coaching matchup of the night and with Izzo. But listen, it's tough to go against Michigan State in this spot here. I do favor the under simply because Michigan State is not going to hit the three. And I also don't believe that Ole Miss is going to continue to hit 50% from three like they've done in the first two games. I believe variance will kick in. I believe Izzo and Michigan State will dictate pace. Everything is going to be contested in this game. I think this is a good old-fashioned rock fight tonight here. If you don't want to lay the 3 in the hook, I would definitely look maybe first half under. Michigan State has been a very slow starting team here. They usually pick it up in the second half. So I would look maybe to a first half under, if not a full game under, and look, maybe, just maybe, you can get Michigan State live at a much better number than minus 3.5, maybe even a pick 'em if they fall behind early, which they have done a couple of times already here in the tournament.
I'm with you on the under because I do think it makes some sense because, again, when we take a look at some of the metrics that come into it, right, like neither one of these teams is going to try to run you out of the gym. We know the defensive footprint from Michigan State is very good. However, you take a look at Mississippi's offense. Top 3 in the country at not turning the basketball over. And you couple that with Michigan State's defense, it is good, but they don't force a lot of turnovers. The reason I bring that up is that means, yes, Mississippi's going to get their shots, but at the same time, what do you worry about? The tempo of the games, the turnovers, the quick breakouts, the 3-on-2s, the 2-on-1s, the breakaway dunks might not be there. And also, Michigan State's defense, as I pointed out, top 10 in the country at defensive rebounding, which means not a lot of second chance opportunities. And Mississippi's offense doesn't rebound all that well on the offensive glass. Those are pluses. You look at Michigan State, by the way, their offensive footprint, because you think about their defense so much, they're still top 25 in the country here, Joe, at being efficient. Now, you do get a good defensive team in Mississippi that played in the best conference in college basketball, but there are some things that I do like. Michigan's offense will get to the free throw line because why? Mississippi fouls a lot. That could be an added advantage. The interesting part is also Michigan State doesn't shoot the three-point shot all that well and doesn't shoot it from volume at all. So maybe you're just collapsing inside the paint, which could make a difference here. But also 321st in the country, Joe, at stingiest. There's 360-plus teams at scoring inside the paint. That's the point distribution for Mississippi. So I don't think we have two teams on the offensive side, Joe, that really match up well against each other. Neutral site, a lot on the line. And for me, I tend to lean towards the under as well. So, Joe, I like the look there that you're saying could be more of a rock fight, getting some really good defense without a lot of tempo and fast break opportunities.
Yeah, and listen, Ole Miss has the athletes. If Michigan State is going to try to get out in transition, they have the athletes and the players to be able to make life, miserable for Michigan State. Got to be one in the half court, and defense is going to win this game. It's Chris Beard's specialty. The under, to me, is the way to look, especially early, I think, in this game.
SEC. SEC. Next up, Kentucky and Tennessee. In the dome, people. Right back at it next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Battle of the SEC continues tonight, and that will take place in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, Kentucky, and Tennessee. 7:39 tip time tonight. As we pointed out earlier, the line opened up at 4.5, sits at 4.5. The total 145.5, down 1 point to 144.5 live right now. The breakdowns are as we know it. Defense, defense, defense for Tennessee. Beautiful offense for Kentucky. Looking at it for me, I look at that Kentucky offense. There's nothing they don't do well. Shoot the three-point shot, elite. Make their shots inside the arc. Go to the free throw line or average there. You take a look at the turnovers. They don't turn it over. But Tennessee here, here's where it comes down to. You are in a football stadium. Kentucky wants to shoot the three-point shot. Kentucky, top 3 in the country at only 28% allowed from the three-point line. However, Joe, they let you shoot the three-point shot. Talk to me about Kentucky's offense in a football stadium needing to be reliant on a three-point shot with a team that defends it pretty darn well.
Yeah, and again, I think that's where the pros versus the Joes comes in this game, is that the public looks at this game and goes, wait a minute, Kentucky beat them twice already in the regular season. Why in the world are they a 4.5 point favorite? But when you dive into it, and you compare, first of all, both these teams have very similar strength of schedules because they both played in the SEC, right? But they also have very similar 3-point percentage differentials against teams. They both have +6.5, +7 against the teams that they have played when it comes to 3-point differential. So it was so ridiculous. We talk about variance, Donnie. The variance that Kentucky would have shot 50% from 3 in those games, while 14 of 63 for 22% from the outside. Tennessee beat them in every other facet of the game except for the 3-point differential. They have played very similar styles all year long. It's elite defense for Tennessee. It's elite offense for Kentucky. What's going to win here? Tennessee should absolutely be the favorite. I'm betting Tennessee simply, Donnie, because I don't believe Kentucky on a neutral site game again is going to go. I mean, they went 24 or 48 in 2 games there in those wins.
Yeah.
They're not shooting 50% against this Tennessee team again. Tennessee beat them in the paint and every place else. I think they beat them again here tonight.
You take a look at that total, and I do agree with the line drop, 145.5 to 144.5. Can these teams score? Of course, they're 2 talented teams. When we take a look at Tennessee, we usually always focus just on the defense itself. They're top 20 in the country in efficiency. But as we just pointed out, again, styles do make fights here. If you have teams that want to shoot the three-point shot and teams that defend it, you're going to have an issue, and particularly playing in the first game. Now, hear me out on this too, Joe. You take a look at the opening rounds here in Indianapolis as the Sweet 16. 2 games, 4 teams are going to play. Get used to the shooting sites, get used to the shooting lines, and then maybe be ready for the Elite Eight saying, hey, we did it yesterday. I'm used to it. Got a couple practices in. We'll be fine. First game there, yes, they have practice there, but the first game is going to be a little bit different. Look at Tennessee's offense, which Kentucky doesn't turn you over at all. That's a plus for Tennessee. But the same imprint we're looking for Kentucky's offense is top 79 in the country volume-wise from three-point range. That's Tennessee. They're pretty good at making it, about 35% as a team. But look at Kentucky's defense. 321st in the country at chasing you off of the line despite defending it well. So we have a game, Joe, that we take a look at and say, 2 defenses that will put your hand in their face when they try to make a three-point shot, but let you shoot it here in a football stadium. Yes, the game can go over, but I lean towards under right off the bat here, Joe.
I am with you. And early under, too, as well. I mean, keep in mind, Kentucky won those 2 games this year by a total of 16 points. They had 39 more points from three-point range, Kentucky, and yet only managed to win those games combined by a total of 16 points. That's what we call variance. At some point, Donnie, and we've seen it now in a couple of spots, you start regressing back to the mean. That's advantage Tennessee and to the under all day here.
Yeah, I'm excited by this game because, again, it adds that added intrigue, which I can't believe they do play games in football stadiums and basketball. You can't even equate it, to other sports or where that really affects you because, a football field is always going to be 100. Now, hey, well, I couldn't throw that deep out because I can see into the background. There's a mountain back there. No, but shooting lanes make a big difference, and particularly when you're traveling and playing at new sites at this point, it always factors in. So maybe, as you're pointing out, you even take a look at the first, the first half under where it's yes, they could come out and shoot the lights out, but there's a chance they don't do that. Maybe you capitalize on it. A fantastic game in the SEC. 2 teams that know each other well, playing 2 times already this season. We'll see who's going to be that victor moving on to the Elite Eight. The next game we'll take a look at tonight, 9:39 start, getting back to Atlanta. That's Michigan, a team that's notorious, Joe, for playing close game after close game for close game. Played a very good conference, won the conference tournament at the end of the season, and been playing very good basketball as we play into the NCAA tournament. This line opened up for Auburn, as we pointed out, 7.5. The live number at the FanDuel Sportsbook, 8.5. The total, which is bouncing now, 151.5, now up live to 153.5. So points are expected. Another SEC team, but as I talked all week long, getting different influences from people that we've had on the show, Michigan is such a lightning rod. Are you trusting what you're seeing over the length of the season, or is it just sooner or later you can't just play these close games and come away with the victory? But again, we're not asking for the victory. Can they stay within the 8.5 points here, Joe?
I don't think so. I think this is where it ends for Michigan here tonight. I think Auburn, who just went up and beat a very good shooting Creighton team, who still, again, made 45% of their threes in that game, and they still covered their 8.5 spread, I think it was, against Creighton, or 9-point spread in that game here. So you're asking Michigan, who's not as good a shooting team, certainly from outside, as what Creighton is. But you know what they do better than Creighton? Turn the ball over. Michigan's propensity for turnovers is what's going to allow Auburn in this game to be able to cover this spread and I think win by double digits here. I think the total goes up here a little bit more before tip-off. I just don't think the idea that the 2 bigs with Golden and Wolf are just going to handle Johnny Broome. Look, Johnny Broome's great. He's a leader of Auburn. But how are you going to stop everybody else on Auburn from firing away? And then also turning the ball over and giving Auburn free buckets, which you're inevitably going to do, is a recipe for disaster. I think Auburn handles Michigan easily here tonight.
And you take a look, because it is about shot making. We get that here. And still, it is going to be a neutral court. It's down in the South. There may be more Auburn fans than Michigan, but obviously Michigan's going to travel. It's not played in the Mercedes-Benz, stadium in Atlanta. It's played in State Farm Arena, which is a little bit easier on the sight lines. You take a look at Auburn's defense, 11th overall in efficiency this season, according to KenPom. Michigan is 13th, so you have two great defenses. But once again, you're looking at good offenses. Auburn does take it to the next level. They're in the top 5, actually 3 overall in adjusted efficiency. But here we go again when we take a look at what's going to make sense. Michigan doesn't handle the ball all that well in offense. Close to 20% of the time they have the basketball, Joe, they turn it over. So that's 1 of every 5 possessions that doesn't end up with an actual shot. That could be a determination in the final score here. But again, we're not just asking who's going to pick it or go money line. Here's the other equation. It seems like when we get to this time of the year, the defenses really rise to the occasion. Auburn, we said, good defense. Michigan, we said, good defense. Look at the three-point line. Top 10 in the country at defending the three-point line. It's Auburn. And also 66th best in the country at chasing you off of the three-point line, which means you better do your dirty work down low, which is tough to do against a very athletic team there in Auburn. You flip it over to the other side here. Auburn loves the three-point shot, but you know who defends it equally as well? It's Michigan's defense. So when I look at these games, it's funny because the imprint right now, Joe, is we're getting points left and right in these games. I find myself leaning more towards unders right here on day number 2 of the Sweet 16.
It could very well be. And again, a lot of this has to do with who do we trust to make shots late in this. And this is for all the marbles here. I do think Auburn's got too many more weapons and takes care of the ball better.
Yeah, it's such good games tonight. Great games yesterday. Elite Eight this weekend. One more game to preview here on a Friday. We'll do it next right here on the Early Line.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. But it came to a bend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Four games tonight. Who you got? Mississippi State, Michigan State. Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Auburn, we covered all three of those games. Game number 4 tonight, the last game on the card, 10:09 Eastern to be played in Indianapolis. It's Purdue, it's Houston. Purdue is from Indiana. The game is in Indiana. Home court advantage towards the Purdue Boilermakers, even though it's a quote-unquote neutral site. Houston, no shame in their game. Heavy favorites in this one. Opened up at 7.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Sits at 8.5 right now live. The total of this game, it is low. Why? Because Houston plays electric defense. 131.5 at the opening number. Still sits at 131.5. Your initial thoughts on this game? We got those, Joe Ranieri. Now more of a handicap style. What are we looking forward to in this game from you?
Well, listen. We're talking about advantage Purdue from the location standpoint. 60 miles from West Lafayette is where this game is going to be played. So it is absolutely advantage Purdue there. And I told you the numbers earlier, Donnie. Teams playing in their home state since 1991 in the tournament, 143, 103, and 2 against the number. It has been very profitable to back those teams playing in their home state in this spot. However, Houston does have just about every statistical advantage, I think, in this game here. We know the biggest weakness for Purdue is they don't play any defense and they can't stop anybody in the paint. Okay, how in the world are you going to stop Houston inside here in any way, shape, or form? They don't rebound all that much. And although Trey Kaufman-Renn had a tremendous game last time out, you know, look at who they had to beat versus who Houston had to beat. I mean, that game against Gonzaga was that was a big test for Houston. Elite offensive team in Gonzaga. You know what? They still handled their business. Only Gonzaga played a little bit more defense. Neither of these teams, and I think this is important for folks to remember, we associate the Houston Cougars at a snail's pace, 359th in pace in the country. But don't confuse it. The Boilermakers are not running up and down the court. They're not Gonzaga. They're 298th in pace. They are going to make this a half-court game, and it's all going to come down to whether Brandon Smith here can make enough shots against this defense of Houston to keep it close. Love the under, agree with the movement to the under, but I'm going to go Houston early in this one, first half. They've been money all year early in games. I think they come out and punch Purdue quickly and have a significant lead by the time they go to the break.
You take a look, too, because, you know, Purdue is a really good basketball team. Top 10 in the country in efficiency on offense, and not a bad defense. They're 55th in efficiency. But it really gets highlighted again, as we talked about Tennessee. Like, usually Houston only gets credit, Joe, for the defensive effort. They're top 11 in the country in efficiency, which means they're going to play the best defense and be ultra efficient on offense. Good luck beating them, which is why that was a 7.5 number at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now sits at 8.5 points. But look at the imprint on their defense. Let's just talk about Houston. 4th overall in effective field goal percentage. Unbelievable at turning the basketball over for you. Defending the three-point line, fantastic. But also, here's the most important ingredient. We talked about, again, the stadium lines, which could be a fallacy tonight, could work out in my favor. I'm just being, from what I've seen in my lifetime, you go to a football stadium, not lose to shooting there, it does take a little bit to adjust. Advantage the better defensive team here. But look at this. Inside the paint, Joe, top 5 in the country at 44.3% is Houston's defense, which means if your three isn't going down, which Houston will defend, they're almost impossible to scoring down low. Even getting closer to the point distribution where sometimes you say we defend the three-point line and defend inside the 2, but we still give up points inside the arc. 355th out of 360-plus teams at defending down low, which is tremendous, which means not only are they chasing you at the three-point line and defending it, they're having a hard time giving up buckets inside the paint as well against them. So points will be at premium for Purdue, even though they have a top 10 offense, which brings me to my next point, as Joe brought up as well. You take a look. You have to make shots. It feels like to me like Brandon Smith, you better make 5 3-point shots tonight, even though I just told you that they defend the three-point line extremely well because you're not driving it to the rim and laying it up against Houston at this point. Is it enough to make me go over 131.5 or stay under? I'll tell you right now, I'm not excited to take the over. And you see that line number at 8.5. Ooh, that's a lot for a good Purdue team. Yes, it is. But I just told you, Everything you do on offense tonight for a top 10 efficient offense in Purdue is going to struggle tonight, Joe. That's where I lean. More on the under, and I just think the shot-making ability, if I just want to take a Purdue number, it's got to be Braden Smith making at least 3+ 3-point shots just to keep them honest on defense for Houston.
Yeah, the defense usual for Houston. Number one in the scoring defense, giving up 58.4 points per game. But the difference with this Houston team, Donnie, is you nailed it. In years past, when Calvin Sampson and the Cougars have fizzled out in this spot,
yes,
they were a 34% three-point shooting team. They are nearly 40% this year. That is a different animal, what they got rolling offensively here. I think this game can get away from Purdue, especially early. And if they're chasing Houston, it's lights out in the second half, Donnie.
It really is. And again, the calling card for Houston is defense. And we just told you they're top 11 in the country in efficiency on offense. They don't turn the basketball over. They rebound like crazy on offense. And oh yeah, as Joe was pointing out as well, you say, I wonder who the top 3-point shooting team in the country is. Probably some team from like the MAC where they don't play any defense, or the Southland Conference, the Big South. No, it's Houston at close to 40% as a team. And the best part about that is they don't rely on the 3-point shot. If it's there, it's open, they'll take it, and they'll make it here. And then you take a look at Purdue's defense, which we just told you, Houston's defense inside the paint is tremendous. 341st in the nation at defense inside the paint. It's Purdue. I think we might be looking at, even though Purdue is going to have the home crowd, even though I love to take points at this level right here, maybe it is a 10-point victory here for the Houston Cougars in this game. But that's all 4 games, Joe. Ad nauseum, counted them down, looked at them, analyzed them, and capped them. How are we feeling about it? Feeling comfortable now? We good?
I'm feeling good, Donnie, and I feel like we've got some winning tickets in our future coming up here tonight. But don't forget, still got NBA, we got Major League Baseball, got a little something for everybody heading into the weekend, don't we?
Everything, which includes a solo mission for Joe Ranieri next to kick off your weekend in style on the early line. I'm headed to radio. Joe's coming back. Enjoy your time. I'm out.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as the early line wraps up this edition with you. Getting ready, of course, for day 2 of the Sweet 16 as the madness has returned. That action happening tonight. But don't forget, we do have some games in the NBA as they wrap up their regular season here tonight. And we've got still some teams battling for playoff positioning. It'll kick off 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight with the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road taking on the Detroit Pistons, who, listen, they're hoping for that number 4 seed, which would guarantee them a home playoff series to kick things off. They're in a tight battle there with Milwaukee as well as Indiana. So Detroit absolutely would love the opportunity here to be able to get a home series. They're going to have to prove it here tonight, taking on the Cavs on the second of a back-to-back in that one. Also, the Clippers, red hot. They have been absolutely fantastic. What a healthy Kawhi Leonard would do for a team here as the Clippers, who just barely lost the other night against the Oklahoma City Thunder at home. They are looking to get it done in a big way here tonight against the tanking Brooklyn Nets here. And this is quite the number, but they just handled business against the New York Knicks a couple of nights ago, 126-113. I see them handling business rather easily in this one tonight as well. Charlotte taking on Toronto in a race to the bottom, 18-win Charlotte Hornets taking on 26-win Toronto Raptors. In fact, Charlotte now has lost 4 of their last 5, while Toronto has put a couple of back-to-back wins here against Washington and Brooklyn, 2 of the bottom feeders. So it's clear that Toronto has no problem beating the bottom feeders here in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors still licking their wounds from the smackdown the Miami Heat gave them a couple of nights ago in that 112-86 game. Question here is, will Steph Curry be able to go against the Pelicans? The line tells you, yeah, as they are laying a huge number of 14.5. So it does appear as if they'll be able to get that going here. Golden State expected to get back on track. And the Knicks taking on the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee here tonight. Another very interesting game as far as that goes. The Bucks, no Lillard. Giannis didn't play last game, though, although they did give the Cleveland Cavs everything they could handle, or rather Oklahoma City, and actually covered that 10.5, 11 points they were getting a couple of nights ago. Now they're at home, kind of a pick-em price. Still no Jalen Brunson for the Knicks, but you better make sure you know who's playing in that game here tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then Phoenix taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Phoenix playing for their postseason lives. They've been playing some great basketball. Kevin Durant especially has been playing some great basketball. They did just lose to Boston the other night there, 132-102. There's no shame in losing to Boston, but now they're on the road against Minnesota, and they're going to need Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and their A game here tonight if they're going to go on the road. They're catching 7 in this one. Feels like a bit of a big number. And then, of course, Denver laying what feels like 3 touchdowns against the Utah Jazz. Second of a back-to-back for Utah last night against Houston. Now they got to go to Denver, not doing them any favors here as Denver looks to continue to roll at home. And there is your NBA slate. And, of course, don't forget Major League Baseball Day 2 off and running here today. Early game, if you are so inclined to watch. Colorado taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Not at the Trop, though. This will be at the Yankees spring training facility in Tampa. So that should be fun to see what's going on. Other than that, Orioles and the Blue Jays game 2, as well as Pittsburgh and Miami. And the list goes on as we all get ready for more madness. The Sweet 16 will be the focus here tonight. What teams will advance to the Elite Eight to join Alabama and Florida and Duke and Texas Tech. Got some great games coming up, and we got more great information about all of it coming your way as the hits keep coming on the SportsGrid Network. We appreciate it as always. The early line. We'll see you again on Monday. Enjoy the games. We'll see you soon.